maybe I'll use a highlighter. This triangle here, the big one, is congruent to this triangle here. Yes? All right, because they're congruent, do you agree that this side must be congruent by that side by corresponding parts? What about this angle and that angle by corresponding parts? Any questions there? That is from the congruent triangles. Now, what kind of angles are these? Vertical. What do we know about vertical angles? Why is this triangle congruent to this triangle? Right. That's why the friend was wrong. But you had to use the fact that the other two were congruent and get their corresponding parts in order to help you prove those two little ones congruent. Number 8, they shared M. Number 10, they shared XY. And then 14, 15, 16, was that it that I assigned? Okay, so, 6. Yes. Run. All right, so let's look at 14. 14, and this is important. I need you to be able to do 14 because there's lots of these on your test. A lot of proofs that you just have to fill in the blanks. That was a fill-in-the-blank proof. And my thought process as I was preparing this triangle congruent unit was if you could do a full proof all by yourself, should you be able to fill in the blank? Yes, I figured that that would come easy. All right, so this is what this is what we have. And by the way, they told you in the given that angle T is congruent to angle R. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it. They told you PQ, segment PQ is congruent to segment PV. So we've got PQ, PV, and they're asking for us to prove that angle PQT is congruent to angle PVR. Now, before we can do this, what do we have to do first? What do we have to do first? What do you think? We're going to separate the triangles, and before we can make this statement, what kind of statement do we have to have before it? Congruent triangles. All right, so I've separated them. We have a mark here, we have a mark there, and we have an angle here, and we have an angle there. We're going to have to go back up and look at these. This is T, P, Q. This is R, P, V. All right, what do they share? Two big triangles, what do they share? You had a lot of these before this. Tell me, what do they share? Angle P. If we were to trace, if we were to trace this triangle, and this is something if you have two different color highlighters on your test, you could trace it on patty paper. Which of the things that I just traced is traced twice? Angle. Right. Not the right. Angle P is congruent to angle P for what reason? Reflexive. All right. So now let's look at their proof. What did they say? They said angle T is congruent to angle R. This is a flowchart proof. What is the reason? How do we know this? Given. That was A. Then in B, they said angle TPQ, PPQ, is congruent to angle RVP. So we have T, P, Q, R, P. What? I did that wrong. These should be transposed. RVP. RPV, sorry. So RPV. Why is this angle? Would be this angle and this angle. Why are they congruent? Reflexive. So you want to kind of answer these in the order of the ABC. All right, so then the next statement says PQ is congruent to PV. Where did we get that? Where'd you get it? Given. From here they went to triangle. TPQ is congruent to triangle RPV. Now, look at our separated ones. What's this reason? Angle, angle, side. And then from here, they said angle PQT is congruent to angle PVR. Why? Corresponding parts, congruent triangles are congruent. So that was where you just had to fill in. Do you like these? Or would you prefer to do it all by yourself? Because you got about probably 3 of these. MJ, you sleep, you got detention. All right, other questions? Yes, Samantha. 16. So the only thing that made these weird was the pictures. So I'm only going to draw that part of the diagram that we're going to need. I am not going to connect across the top because that doesn't really give me, well, maybe it does. Triangle QDA, triangle UAD. We need to prove those congruent. All right. So if we look at this, I need to know, what do they share? They do share a side. And which side would that be? DA. Everybody see that? This big triangle on the left shares a side DA with the triangle on the right. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to come over here, and we are going to separate these 2 triangles. That was the skill they were developing 1 through 10. And this is that bottom segment. What else did they have marked? They had this marked. Maybe I should put 2 things. They had these marked, and they had this marked. That big arc meant that whole big angle. All right, do you see a congruence here? All right, so what are going to be my reasons? How do I begin? Okay, there we go. Side, angle, side. All right, I need a statement for one side. Sydney? QD is congruent to UA. And remember that this was pre-marked, this was pre-marked, and this was pre-marked, all right? So what would that reason be? I need a set of angles, Karen. What's my set of angles? Pardon? Okay, DUA, is that one up here marked? Okay. Try again. All right, but remember we have this picture, and there's 2 angles at D and there's 2 angles at A. So when we have overlapping triangles, always use 3 letters. So if you start at D, so if we're in this one, where are you going to go after D? A, U? Okay, what corresponds over here? Good. A, D, Q. Now, was that pre-marked? So that was given. All right, third step. We need a side. Carlin? DA is congruent to AD. Why? No. Right, it was the shared side, reflexive. All right, so now that we've justified each one of those pieces, what will my fourth statement be, Brittany Norwood? Why? When you have triangle congruent to triangle, there you go. That's going to always be a combo. And they didn't ask us to go any further than that on that one. Did you notice that was all congruent triangles? There weren't any corresponding parts on the proof she had to do last night. Anything else? Mm-hmm. 15. What did 15 say? All right, again, they gave you a whole lot in that picture that you did not need. So I'm going to draw, if I can find my cursor. It's gone. There we go. Oh, no. All right, so we've got this. All right. I'm not going to draw any other parts of it because there are no triangles. So we have R, S, T, U, and M. And they gave us, given, that RS is congruent to UT. They gave us something else they didn't mark. RT is congruent to US. And they want you to prove triangle RST is congruent to triangle UTS. All right, before we go any further, first of all, looking at that picture, what do they share? ST. They share this side. If you were to trace this triangle on the left, you would trace ST. If you trace the triangle on the right, you would trace ST. So we're going to separate these so that we can see this better. And one of the given they did not mark because it would have been very confusing. So we have R, S, T, and then we have S, T, U. And they gave us that RS is congruent to UT and RT is congruent to SU. And what is our third thing that we know, Devin? I got those marked. What do they share? ST. All right, so we have to prove two triangles congruent. Samantha, how are we going to start? What's our plan for the proof? Well, I don't have anything written here. So what should be written vertically? Great. It should be side, side, side. All right, now we can start to fill in the blanks. I need one pair of sides, Kayla. S. SU and PR. Why? given. All right, Bree, I need another one. ST is congruent to STY. Good. All right, let's see. Brittany, C. RS and UTY. Yeah. All right, and now what's my last step, Leslie?
Triangle RC, triangle UTS.
Right. Okay, if I posted some of my, you know, the congruent triangle 1, 2, 3. If I posted, let's say, my work on 2 and 3, would you even look at it to study for your test? Okay, I'll try to remember to do that third period. All right, right now, I need you to get out a piece of paper. We're still in triangles. This was a congruent section. Now we're going to talk about similar. And this comes full circle. Oh, you're going to like this. You are going to like this. All right, this is A19 assignment. These are your EOC questions for A19. You get to circumscribe a circle and probably inscribe a circle in a triangle. So those are the two constructions that you had on your last test. All right, but anyway, that's A19. We're back to algebra. Are you happy? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a ratio. This is algebra 1. It's a comparison of two quantities by division. There are 3 ways to write a ratio. A with the letter 2b, A colon b, or A over b. 3 ways to write a ratio. When I say quantities by division, this one is the one that truly shows that division. Would you agree? But it could be written any of these ways. Ratios are usually expressed in the same unit, because if they're different units, it's called rates, and written in simplest form. So if you have a ratio of 4/8, will I accept that as an answer? What do I expect? 1/2. So we use ratios a lot to when things are called in proportion. And that's what we're really going to be working with on our similar triangles. And this unit is a throwback to our dilations. This is going to reinforce what you learned on dilations. A small bonsai, bald cypress tree, it's a small one, is a smaller version of the bald cypress tree called the senator in Florida. My guesses are those are big cypress trees in the swamps. If the bonsai tree is 15 inches and the senator tree is 18 feet tall, what is the ratio of the height of the bonsai tree to the height of the senator? Okay, what does this say? Same what? Unit. What is this unit? What is this unit? Feet. So you're going to have a choice. Do you change inches to feet or feet to inches? Feet to inches. All right, so let's do that first before we write our ratio. So if you have 118 feet, how many inches are in a foot? Okay, how do I set that up if I need feet to go away? I need feet on the bottom and inches on top, because I need that to cancel, correct? So now what numbers, how do we put the numbers now? 1 foot, 12 inches. So my suggestion is place your units then place your numbers. So the feet cancel. Thank you. Jeff is going to figure out what 118 times 12 is.
1,416.
So the senator is 1,416 inches tall. So this is important. They've listed the bonsai tree 2. See the word? 2. See the word? 2. The senator. So who comes first? The 15 or the 1416? The 15 is to what? 1416. What's another way to write this? 15 colon 1416. What's the last way to write this? Okay. What do you think is the most useful way mathematically? Division, exactly. Now, I would expect you to reduce this. And is there a factor of 3 and 12? That means if 12 was multiplied by 118, this is divisible by 3. So 3 goes into 15 5 times, and 3 divides 1416. 3 doesn't go into 1, but goes into 14 4 times, gives us 12. Subtract, we get 2. Bring down our 1, 3 into 21 is 7. Bring down the 6, 3 into 6 goes 2. Head down, I assume you're sleeping. All right, any questions so far? All right. Height of a table tennis net is 6 inches, and a tennis net is 3 feet. Okay, we got another issue here. Inches, feet. What is the ratio of the tennis net now to the table tennis? So what are we going to do? Let's change inches to feet this time. If I have 6 inches, what are we going to multiply by? What has to be on the bottom? Inches. What has to be on top? Feet. So now where do we put our numbers? 1, 12. Inches cancel. What do we get? 6 over 12, which is what? 1/2, which is the same thing as 0.5. So they want tennis net to table tennis net. So if I want to do the 2 form, who comes first? The 3 feet to the 1/2 foot. Or we write this as 3 colon 0.5. Or we write this as 3 over 0.5. Now, do we leave decimals in our fractions? No. So this is the same thing as 3 divided by 1/2. This is a big divide sign. Do you remember how to divide fractions? What do? Multiply by the reciprocal. So what I'm going to do is write this sideways first. 3 divided by 1/2. When we divide, we multiply by the reciprocal. So what will this be? 6 over 1. So this is part of your homework, is to be able to write these ratios. Easy? Okay. Now, a quantity can be divided into a ratio. A ratio of punch is 2 cups Sprite to 5 cups fruit juice. If Dave needs to make 42 cups of punch, how many cups of fruit juice does he need? All right, these are probably my favorite ones. You make a decision from the very beginning. Are you going to do cups over, no, are we going to do Sprite over juice? Or are we going to do juice over Sprite? It does not matter. You have to make a decision. MJ, what are we going to do? Are we going to do Sprite to juice or juice to Sprite? Okay, so we're not going to do this one. This is what we're going to do. My suggestion on these problems is you write this out, because it is this that will drive everything we do. So what we're going to do is we have one situation, and we're going to set it equal to another situation. We're going to write a proportion. So what is the first ratio has how much Sprite? 2. And how much juice? 5. Now, when we go to set this one up, Sprite must be on top. So Dave wants to make 42 cups of punch. How many cups of fruit juice does he need? All right, just kidding. They didn't give us my... So this is what we're going to do. What are we looking for? Fruit juice. So if X is equal to fruit juice, do we know total? Okay, so now we're going to make a decision because we were given total. And what do we have to find? What do we have to find? Juice. We're given total. We're given juice. So the question is going to be, are we going to do total to juice, or are we going to do juice to total? So MJ, you have to pick again. Which are we going to do? Juice to total. All right. So let's talk about the first part. The first part tells us that we have how much juice? How much juice? 5 cups. Total cups. What are my total cups? 7. You with me? You're going to put in 5 cups of fruit juice, 2 cups of Sprite, so we have total 7. Over here, we must do juice on top. Do we know how much juice? So that's my X. Do we know the total? 42. Do you know how to solve a proportion? So what we're going to do is we're going to, when we solve a proportion, we're going to say 5 times 42 is equal to 7x. Then to solve this, we're going to divide by 7, and x is going to equal 30. I do not know what 5 times 42 is, but I do know 7 divides 42 6 times, and that's what I got to be my 30. Yes? Nick? 5 times 42, but it's only we only need 30 cups. Seven divided by 42.
7 cups, that's 1, and times divided by 42, you get 7. I mean, you get 6, and you times by 5.
Basically, that's what it's come out to be. If it comes out to be decimals and fractions, would that have been as easy to see? So that's why I fall to this. All right, now, look how this is written. Okay? It says 2 complementary angles are in the ratio of 3 to 5. Now, remember, what do we do? If I have a fraction, in fact, we did this over here. What did we do to this fraction? We simplified it, correct? What did we do to our 15 over 14, 16? What did we do? We simplified it. In other words, we divided this by 3, we divided this by 3. So what we have here is this ratio is a simplified form. So we have 3x to 5x. If I write this as a fraction, does that reduce back down to 3/5? Okay? So basically 3x is one angle. 5x is the other angle. Now what does complementary mean? Add to 90. So we know 3x plus 5x equals 90. 8x is 90. What do we get? $90 over 2 goes into 90, 2 goes into 8. That's going to be 4 goes 1, 1 and a quarter. So then you'd have to go back and find each angle. So we would take 45 over 4 and multiply it by 3. We take 45 over 4 and multiply it by 5. So that's going to be 135 over 4. And this is going to be 225 over 4. I think the book will probably give you prettier answers. But the key here is this ratio, we've got a 3x and we've got a 5x, and we sum them to 90. Could I have said that the measures of the angles of a triangle, so what do we know? 2x, 3x, and 4x. This is one angle, this is the second angle, and this is the third angle. And then what would you do from there? Measures of the angles of a triangle. You'd say 2x plus 3x plus 4x is equal to, that's 7, 8, 9x equals 180. What is x? Find the measure of each angle. This angle is going to be 2 times 20, 3 times 20, 4 times 20, 80. All right, any questions there? All right, a proportion is an equation that states two ratios are equal. So let's look at this. I can rewrite this as 1 over 2 is equal to 4 over 8. By the way, is that a correct statement? Is 1/2 equal 4/8? Okay, there's what we call the extremes and the means. All right, 1 and 4, or I'm sorry, 1 and 8 are called the extremes. Why? Because on the outside. 2 and 4 are called the means. They're on the inside. That's where those words came from. So look where the extremes are when you get to the fraction. Upper left, lower right are the extremes. Lower left, upper right are the means. So they're going to refer to the extremes and the means, and you're going to have to be able to pick them out of a proportion. So looking here, where are the extremes? A and D, what are the means? C and B. In a proportion, here we go. The product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes. What that means is the product of the means, AD, is equal to the product of the extremes. Isn't that how we solved that? So there it is in words. I don't know why I put that back down there. So, how do you solve a proportion? This is the part you're going to really, really like. Jennifer, what do we do? Product of the extremes. So that's going to be, product means multiply, equals what? Three times. So you're going to divide by 5. You're going to divide by 5. X is 27/5. You've got lots of this. This is what this unit is about. You'll be doing proportions all the time. All right. So Bree, what am I going to do here? Okay. So what is Y? Well, it's going to be 21 over 8. And 7 goes into 21, not 8. All right, so let's see. Tommy, you get the next one. 4 times 5. So we're going to have 20 is equal to, what do I do to get n by itself? I, 12. 4 goes into 25 and into 12, 3. What about this one? Harper, can you get this one started for me? equals, all right, it looks ugly, but it's not. And then you just distribute. MJ is going to distribute. Equals. So 7x. All right, now what do we do with our x's, Eric?
Minus 5x.
So you have negative 20 equals 56 plus 2x, then what? Minus 56, you're going to have negative 76. Divide by 2. That goes evenly. I don't know how much. So x is going to equal negative 38. Did you like this section?
Yes.
Okay, so now I have not gone into the properties of proportions. That's it. So I will do that on Monday. That's A19's homework. But that is not going to be assigned today. Today, A18 is not a review worksheet that it says on your syllabus. It is those problems. Yes, please turn it.